こんにちは、ハリケーンフットボールです。今回の教材は、サッカー日本代表に関する動画です。サッカー日本代表は9月シリーズで、メキシコとアメリカと対戦を予定しています。今回はメキシコのファンのチャンネルから、日本戦のプレビュー動画を扱います。少し長かったので、主にメキシコのチームについて話している部分は省略し、一部切り取っています。この動画では含めておりませんが、オリジナル動画の最後の部分では、スコア予想もし、この動画で話している2人は、明らかに日本の方が強いチームだと認め、1人は2対1で日本が勝ち、1人は引き分けでも合格だと話しています。やはり日本の強さや、怪我人による守備陣の問題を話しつつ、結果としては内容として良い試合をしてほしい、という感じで話しています。実際にどのように話しているのか、チェックしてみましょう。
World Cup preparation begins now with Mexico and Japan facing off on Saturday. And of course, we're going to give you guys our preview and predictions for the game. But before we begin, make sure to comment your score prediction down below. We'll give it to you guys towards the end of the video. Andres, I'm going to start off with asking you, and I'll go into what Japan's side. But what would a win mean for you in terms for Mexico? A win against Japan in this friendly means what?
I think it's another step in the right direction. I think, obviously Japan, shout out the Japanese. From the last World Cup. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. But so yeah, I'm a big fan of Japan. I think they're a very underrated side, always into the World Cup for some reason, despite being dominant in Asia. But yeah, I think it'd be a massive win against a great opponent. You know what I mean? I think it would just continue the momentum, keep it rolling. And more positive because these upcoming international windows throughout the year leading up to this World Cup, they're playing some heavy teams. Mexican side are playing some heavy teams, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they do. And I think this is kind of like let's set it off, get off on the right foot if it's a win. You know what I mean? I'd be happy with the draw personally. I'd be completely cool with a 1-1 draw or a evenly contested match. I'd be okay with that. But I think a win would be huge. So I think it would help boost morale even more. Granted, we are missing some players that we wish we'd probably want to have. But overall, it's the closest that we can possibly get with an A team. So I'm still expecting a very good showing from these guys. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think it's good. It would be a huge catapult forward, in my opinion.
I want to say that for on Mexico side of things, this is such a good friendly series. I mean, this and South Korea, but Japan in particular, such good friendlies to start off this year-long preparation for the World Cup, just because they're expected to play some heavy hitters, like you said, in the world. Argentina is being thrown out there. Apparently, Portugal is going to be involved in the Azteca reopening. I think that's in March of next year, as well as South American CONMEBOL teams. They're playing Venezuela, Colombia, and Ecuador. I think maybe even Uruguay is in the Olympics. So all these teams have the potential to be in the quarters and semis of the World Cup, and that's exactly what you want to be facing. And Japan is just, all of Asian football, in my opinion, is absolutely disrespected around the world. So I love to see them being put on this stage. And they're a very even matchup. And it's very hard to say that Mexico is even a favorite in this game. I think if you're saying that, you're a little biased, if I'm being honest. Look at Japan a little bit more. Japan are looking good going into this game. So I think a win for Japan here would just first of all, do a little more to ease that disrespect. Because Japan, even against CONCACAF historically, has not been that good. I think the last 5 times they played Mexico, Mexico has actually won 5 wins in a row. Now, this is over the course of 25-ish years. So it doesn't necessarily matter a whole lot because the players here, compared to the last time they played, might not have been the same thing. I think in 2020, very big difference even then. So Japan, I think, needs to put that CONCACAF record a little bit to bed. This is a friendly. It's not a competitive match, so it might not mean as much. But Japan needs to help their global image. Not that they care, but they deserve to be looked at in a much better light. And I think Japan are a team going into this World Cup that a lot of people need to pay attention to. And I've said this plenty of times before. I see them being in that quarterfinals. Maybe with a good draw in that quarters, they might even make the semis. Beyond that, I can't promise anything, but I really do see them. They are an incredibly deep team, not just for Asian standards, but for world standards. Their depth is out of this world. So I think a win, like I said, would just ease the disrespect for Japan and get them going. They've already qualified for the World Cup. They're one of the first teams to qualify outside of the host nations for the World Cup. So they're already there. This is just a really good start again to help prepare them. In your opinion, where could Mexico succeed the most on the pitch against Japan? Where do you see the best matchup here?
I think defensively. I think it's about time.
Really?
I think it's about time we see, our back four go up against, a very threatening attack. I feel like in Kulikov, it's kind of been like a little flat in the sense of like knowing what they're going to have to deal with. It's kind of been like, all right, they're going to just boot it long, hit us on the counterattack. You know what I mean? And I think Japan's one of those teams where, they're going to hit you on the counterattack, but they're also going to go at you. And they're going to try and create goal scoring opportunities, not through the counterattack. So I think it's just going to be a good area to test the Mexican defense, especially the likes of Montes and Vasquez. Obviously, their historic, amazing record. I think honestly, it'd be a good test. Huescas is back in the side, so I'm curious to see if he's going to start at right back. He's done amazing for Copenhagen.
He fucking better.
So
if he doesn't start at right back and Jorge Sanchez instead is.
In theory, you know what I mean? Like, we'll see. We'll see. Watch him just not play at all this entire international window, and then like my whole thing goes out the window. So I'm curious to see the right back position battle too, but that's just kind of like overall. But yeah, I want to see the defense tested because like, look, yes, we're a host nation for this upcoming World Cup, but also like there's some big teams, and I know we're not going to be able to go toe to toe with them, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. But what's going to help win us these games against these bigger teams is obviously an amazing defense, or at least be able to limit scoring opportunities. So this is a test for me personally that I want to see where I think could be an area of strength for this team to just keep building, have some more building blocks. Especially if we limit the chances, because Japan can create a lot of chances in the game. We've seen that against big sides. And if we can just like limit the chances to like minimal, nothing like crazy, nothing like tap-ins that they're missing type thing. But I'm saying like 2 or 3 shots on target, then I'd be pretty happy with that. Just because I think this is an area of emphasis that's needed for me. And then attacking, I think we kind of know what we're expected from the attack. You know what I mean? That's all I'm going to say. And then our midfield's not really our midfield. So if I see that motherfucker step foot on that pitch, I swear.
You all know who he's talking about. Charlito.
I swear. That man steps foot on that pitch and part of that midfield 3. I'm going to lose it. I was
going to say on Japan's side, like, kind of literally opposite of what you're saying is I too am really excited to watch that like winger battle for Japan against Mexico's fullbacks, because I think that, in my opinion, it has Japan's success written all over it. Like especially on that left hand side for Japan's attack, you have Mitoma over there, who is obviously class, and on his day one of the best wingers in the Premier League, and during his prime at the time maybe one of the best wingers in the world. But him against whoever they want to put at right back, which is probably Huescas. I like that matchup for Japan, for Mitoma in particular, just because Huescas, he's great, but he's great moving forward. He's great moving the ball up and getting up. But I think what Mexico's fullbacks lack is that one-on-one ability. On the left side, if Jesus Gallardo's starting, it's either him or Mateo Chavez. And if Gallardo's starting, he can't win the one-on-one. He can only foul, which isn't the worst thing in the world. I guess it stops it, but he's just a dick. He's an complete asshole in that left back spot. But in a true one-on-one against shifty wingers, I don't see Gallardo getting the win there. On the right side, like I said, Huescas is not the best one-on-one defender. Very, very good fullback or wingback more so, but not the best one-on-one defender. So they kind of have to manage how far up Huescas gets up the pitch, because Japan can very easily get down the sideline and cause some damage through there, especially with the quality they have of Mitoma and Kubo, just to name a couple. So that's where I would worry for Mexico just a little bit. Now, inversely, I think Japan's weakness here is their defense. The defense normally is fantastic. They have a really, really good defensive core. But this window in particular, not the best call-ups. I mean, they even have like a 38-year-old aging like Japanese center back who plays in the Japanese league, which no issue. Oh, nice. He's very much like a Memo Ochoa kind of deal, where he's really just in there as guidance, as leadership. He shouldn't be playing it if he's playing against Mexico. There are some bigger issues at play. But Mexico's defense is stretched a little bit with their call-up. So I'm not saying necessarily that that's going to be a reason why Mexico scores 2 or 3 plus goals, because I still don't see that. But I'm curious to see how Mexico's at this attack. What I would like to see, though, from Mexico's side is a full-on press. I think Mexico need to take it to Japan here if they want to get anything, because if you let Japan get in the groove without much pressure, that is where Japan will succeed in this game, especially, like I said, with that defense. You need to pressure this inexperienced defense. It is not going to be anywhere close to the defense we see in a potential World Cup starting 11, or maybe even towards like the end of this year or next year when they can call up better players. I think a lot of the issue is just injuries right now. But I think Mexico really needs to take it to this highly inexperienced with each other and on the stage and fairly experimental back line. I think Mexico really, really needs to press that. And even with that being said, I can't, in this current state of Mexico, can't see them score many goals against Japan here.
Yeah, even with a makeshift, arguably backline for Japan, it's still rough out here. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, you kind of know what to expect because, like, I don't think it's gonna drastically be like, okay, we found the shooting boots and we're scoring, 2-3 goals. It's like, no, I think it's still gonna be a little bit of a struggle, but they're still gonna struggle to create chances and figure out what the hell they're doing.
次は解説です。二人ともに話すスピードが速く、かなりの頻度でぐちゃっと話すこともあり、一部うまく聞き取れないところもありましたが、皆さんはいかがだったでしょうか。ネイティブらしい表現もいくつかありましたので、早速本日の解説をチェックしてみましょ
う。Get off on the right foot if it's a win.
Get off on the right foot は、良い第一歩を踏み出すという意味のイディオムです。初めての仕事、学校生活、新しい人間関係など、スタートの場面でよく使われます。逆に、悪いスタートを切るは、Get off on the wrong foot と言います。この表現は会話でもビジネスでも非常によく使われ、覚えておくと便利です。英語圏の人にとっても自然なフレーズで、トイックなどの試験でも理解しておきたい表現です。
Get off on the right foot if it's a win. Get off on the right foot if it's a win. But yeah, I think it's good. It would be a huge catapult forward.
カテプルトは、もともと物を投げ飛ばす装置という意味の名詞ですが、日常会話では、誰かや何かを一気に成功や注目の的に押し上げるという意味で動詞としても使われます。例えば、その映画が彼女をスターダムに押し上げたという場合などに使われます。ニュースやスポーツ記事、ビジネスの場面でも頻繁に登場する語で、一気に飛び抜けるや、急成長するといった意味で捉えると覚えやすいです。日本語で言えば、飛躍させるや、押し上げるが近いです。
But, yeah, I think it's good. It would be a huge catapult forward. But yeah, I think it's good. It would be a huge catapult forward. They're going to just boot it long, hit us on the counterattack.
ブートロングは、サッカー解説や実況でよく使われる表現で、ボールを後方から前線に思い切って蹴り出すプレーを指します。多くの場合、守備側の選手が危機回避のために前方へ大きく蹴り出したり、ロングボールによって一気にチャンスを狙うときに使われます。技術的なパス回しではなく、単純な前方へのキックであり、ややネガティブな意味合いで使われることもあります。こうした口語的な表現に慣れておくと、スポーツ英語のリスニングにも強くなります。
It has Japan's success written all over it.
Return all over it は、あるものや状況の中にはっきりと特徴や結果が現れているときに使われます。例えば、失敗することが書いてあるようなものだといった感じで、日本語で言う、見え見えや、なんなんそのものといった表現に近いです。スポーツ、ビジネス、日常会話でも広く使われる便利なイディオムで、相手の表情、行動、状況を見て、まさにそうだと感じたときにぴったりのフレーズです。
It has Japan's success written all over it. It has Japan's success written all over it. There are some bigger issues at play.
アットプレイは、日常会話やビジネス、ニュース解説などでよく使われる表現です。特に、何かが作用している、や、背後にある影響が働いていると言いたいときに便利です。一方で、直訳として、子供が遊んでいるといった意味にもなるため、文脈による意味の見極めが重要です。ビジネス英語や時事英語にも品質の表現なので、しっかり覚えておくと表現力が上がります。
There are some bigger issues at play. There are some bigger issues at play. I think Mexico need to take it to Japan here.
Take it to は、特にスポーツやビジネスで相手に対して攻めの姿勢を見せるときに使われる表現です。サッカーやバスケットボールなどで、Take it to the opponent といえば、相手に積極的に仕掛けていくや、押し込んでいくといった意味になります。この表現を覚えておくと、スポーツの英語実況や分析番組などで聞き取りやすくなります。また、Take it to the next level で、次の段階へ進むという成長、発展を表す定番表現にも使われるため、汎用性の高い駆動詞です。
I think Mexico need to take it to Japan. I think Mexico need to take it to Japan because if you let Japan get in the groove, without much pressure.
Get in the groove は、スポーツ、仕事、音楽、日常生活などあらゆるシーンで使える便利な口語表現です。ここでのグルーブは、音楽のリズム感や 物事がスムーズに流れている状態を比喩的に表しています。調子に乗るや波に乗る。自分の流れをつかむなど、日本語にすると状況に応じた自然な訳が必要になります。特に物事をうまく進め始めた瞬間を表すのにぴったりな表現です。
Because if you let Japan get in the groove, without much pressure, because if you let Japan get in the groove, without much pressure.
いかがでしたか？前回の動画で扱ったギブアンドゴの2人はメキシコの方が強いという印象が強かったですが、それ以外の動画ではメキシコ人でもより多くの人が日本の方が強いと話していました。特に多くの人が話していたことに共通していたのは、日本の強さは攻撃陣であり、ウィンガーであり、一方で守備には不安があり、メキシコはいかに日本の攻撃を抑え、日本の守備にプレッシャーを与えられるか、というところでした。実際は、日本がどのようなメンバーで、どのようなフォーメーションになるのかも、不確定な部分も大きい気がしますが、いずれにしても、ファンのみんなが感じているように、できることを出し切って、いい試合をしてほしいと思います。もう明日の朝にはキックオフですので、楽しみにしたいと思います。本日もご視聴いただきありがとうございました。またすぐにお会いしましょう。